Greetings! Today's talk focuses on a concept which is Tesla stock about to go thermonuclear? 3 reasons. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time on our channel, please take time to like and subscribe. That really influences the placement and viability of the firm. Watching a few minutes of videos is also very helpful, or 10 seconds of ad watching is also helpful in channel support, and we're also on Patreon. We post regularly on our Tesla Fan Insight on Facebook, and I think this will be helpful for when we don't have those videos here. I'm doing a little different action today. I've decided to do a selfie stick, and we're at our usual facility here in Tyson's Corner, which is in McLean, Virginia. As you can see behind me, we got a whole bunch of Teslas, as you can see. And what I thought was interesting is that, as you'll notice from show to show, you tend to see the same number of cars as though they have not been moving. And I've gotten a chance to come by every 2 or 3 days and have noticed that there's actually a lot of delivery vehicles going back and forth to fill any gaps available when it comes to cars having been sold, and then those gaps are being filled. So it looks like since the last time we've been here, no cars have moved, but that's totally not the case. There's a lot of action in terms of new vehicles in and out. So today's show is, I want to say, a little bit different than our usual. The issue that I wanted to cover is Tesla stock about to go thermonuclear? So there are 3 elements we want to cover primarily, but there'll be a few others. The first issue that we've already covered is the fact that there's a $360 price point for Tesla stock that's significant, because once that stock price is reached, Tesla has the option to do a bond buyback and turn those into equity participants in the company's stock, rather than having to, they can issue stock instead of having to pay cash to retire those bonds. So that's significant because the company needs several $billion over the next 2 years to get through the growth plans that are on the table for a number of different types of vehicles and locations, et cetera, et cetera. So Tesla needs the money, and giving it back to bondholders is not great for the company. And as that stock price closes on 360, sort of the metrics on all that Tesla is doing completely change. So we reached 355. I would not be shocked to see 360 show up and then hold over the next couple of weeks. So the first part of our thermonuclear leg is Tesla achieves that $360 stock price, and once they get to that price, it opens up a whole bunch of other financing options for the company that they currently do not have. The second thing that affects, how are you? The second thing that affects whether or not Tesla goes for the thermonuclear plan we're discussing is the fact that what I call the hedge fund wars. So what's happening is Tesla, as we all know, we've covered extensively, is one of the most shorted stocks in the world. So as a result, there are a lot of entities that would be hurt badly, namely hedge funds, if the stock price rises. Now, on the other side of it, there are other hedge funds that know the positions held by those hedge funds that are exposed to Tesla. So someplace around 365, 370, there are a number of firms that have been losing a lot of money that have to start closing out their position. There are certain covenants that limit the amount of losses these folks can take, and I believe someplace in that 370 to 380 range is where we'll start seeing very large amount of buying of the stock to close those positions. So the second leg of the thermonuclear component of why Tesla sort of goes bananas is that as those firms are having to close out those positions that they're losing money on, they're going to have to buy the stock. And as they're buying the stock, there are firms on the other side of that that will try to force that price as high as possible while those companies are trying to unwind their short positions. So what this basically means is that you could easily see Tesla stock price get to 360, 365, and then spike up to $400 a share without any difficulty as those hedge funds try to unwind their position. And if that occurs, I think as an investor, you have an interesting decision to make. Do you sell at 400-ish, 380, 390, wait for it to dip back down into the 350 realm? Or do you just hang on and ride it for the long term? Selling quickly and getting back in hits you with a lot of capital gains taxes, so it's probably wiser to stick in. A better route might be to actually get a margin loan and use the money that way, because the interest is deductible and you're riding a nicely rising stock price as well. So you don't have to sell your shares, but you can use the cash without any headaches. Several folks have warned me I am not a registered representative. These are just my ideas and suggestions of how one might handle the situations more effectively. The third part of the thermonuclear potential I believe that the stock has is that the Tesla story right now, even though we're having delivery hell that's been discussed numerous times, there are a lot of people getting their cars and happy with what they've gotten. So in my mind right now, there's something that I can't figure out that I keep reviewing and don't have the answer for, but I think it's worth reviewing. The first item is that in terms of battery packs, because the battery packs have been redirected to get more Model 3s completed, there are a large number of people who've ordered who've put orders in to get their battery storage facilities for the garage. And those folks have prepaid or pre-ordered with a down and have not been able to get those packs in the Type 2 version because all the batteries are being devoted to Model 3 production. So there's a backlog of orders there, and then there's obviously the backlog of the trucks that are waiting to start production as well. So one of the other reasons why I see thermonuclear lurkings for Tesla is if you're an investor, a large mutual fund or other investor, what you're looking for is companies with very large backlogs that can't be met by competitors. And when you add it up, Tesla's got a huge backlog of demand. The final reason why I think there's a thermonuclear sort of lurking potential is Tesla doesn't reveal what the numbers are, but in theory, 100,000 Model 3s have been sold. If there were, let's say, 350,000 people that were reservation holders, that means that about a third of those customers have been satisfied. And in theory, a half of those people are in the United States. So because maybe a third to a half of those people are actually people who want the cheapest Model 3 version, this introduces another question mark, which is, after we go by what are called the early adopters, meaning people who've ordered it or been waiting for Teslas for 2 or 3 years, what's happening in the general buying public? And the answer seems to be that there's actually a decent amount of pent-up demand for the Model 3 from folks not willing to sit in 2 and 3 year long lines. The pent-up demand question that I think is lurking, and we're going to learn about with the earnings, is how many European buyers are out there and ready to buy, and how much pressure does that put on vehicle sales in the United States, if you will. So my humble assessment is that Europe is probably equal to the amount of demand that the US has. So there's room for 100,000 Model 3s to go into Europe in the next 6 to 8 months, and possibly 200,000 cars. But Tesla, all total in batteries, has about 300,000 cars a year that they can build. So I foresee shortages for the Model 3 everywhere they're sold for the next at least year and a half, possibly 2, for all the reasons that I just described. And forget about it. When you have a $35,000 car, that's even going to exacerbate the situation. Now this is very interesting. I just heard a noise over my shoulder, And you guys always give me a hard time about noises. Well, guess what's pulling up right now? A whole bunch of Model 3s. Ta-da! Brought to you from Birmingham, Alabama, which is where the trucks come in. Oh, I have to say I made a mistake. It's not one truckload of Model 3s, it's 2 truckloads of Model 3s. So I'm going to take a little break here just so we can oogle the trucks coming in. That is wow. Wow. Pretty cool, huh? Ooh. Wow. So 2 truckloads of cars just came in that were pre-ordered. I have to admit, I know you guys are going to bust me because it's too noisy, but you heard it was quiet before the trucks parked. So I'm going to try to air brakes. I'm going to try to move away from this spot just a minute because I don't have to have you guys listen to the truck noise and then you get mad at me because of all the problems I have with sound. It gives us an interesting environment where you guys can get a feel for what's going on. I just wanted to do something kind of weird here on my show, which is, can we figure out what version of the Model 3s we're looking at? And in particular, I was just gonna, so we know that this is at least, the average price of these cars is $59,000. What I was looking to see if I could see the red calipers. Sorry. No, wow. None of the cars that are behind me are actually performance versions. And what I was looking for is you can see the red calipers that would denote that. Yeah, I can see little coverings on the, if you look up, you can see it's kind of a blue haze on the door handles. So you can see there's a little bit of a transport protection here that we can look at. Let me just ask the truck driver a quick question while we're, excuse me, are you in from Birmingham, Alabama? Is this from Birmingham? Yeah, thank you. So as I was sharing with you guys, Tesla brings their East Coast cars in to a place called Birmingham, Alabama. The trucker that I just asked about it was, great company. Great question there. I have to admit, guys, that so the process for vehicle movement, the process for vehicle movement here in the United States is that the vehicles are actually shipped from the Fremont factory by train to a place called Birmingham, Alabama. From there, it's basically a 8 to 10 hour drive, and they arrive here in Washington, D.C. area. What's wild to me is that there's actually no, I didn't see any place for them to put these cars, so they must have a lot of vehicles that are going to be sold today, because this place is full of vehicles of all types. So at any rate, I'm feeling a little bit self-conscious because I have to scream for you to hear me. The trucking engine is just screaming here, making it difficult for me to continue with my show plan today. I do want to review what's going on with the trucking company. Part of Tesla's strategy is to not order or move to a larger space. They're actually focused here on the fact that if they can sell the cars as they come in off the truck, they don't need to store them. So the goal is to get all the vehicles sold and get these into the spaces for the ones that have been sold. So the goal is to have the storage facility be on the back of these trucks and not stored on the street, so that owners are picking up their vehicles and getting them moving. But I will apologize for the noise. I did not expect the trucks here because they're getting large numbers of inbound. Let's see, at least I can count at one. So let's just count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So each truck can hold 8 vehicles, I believe. So this truck right now is, so we're getting 8 times 2 trucks, or about 16 trucks are coming in, or 16 Model 3s are coming in all at the same time. As you notice, we're not seeing any X's or S's in this delivery group. So that kind of gives you a flavor for what's going on. Yeah. Wow, interesting. Okay. All right. Very interesting. So what I'm going to do from here is that I'm actually going to we've really covered our major points on the thermonuclear of the stock. We'll be visiting with this as it occurs next week. I'm going to close the show out today. We're not always at the service facilities. And what I like to do is kind of do travel around the service facilities, and it gives everybody an opportunity to sort of do a weekly inventory of what's going on with Tesla. And so my goal is to just jump in the car and give you guys I'll close out the show while I'm in the car and it's quieter. And then we're gonna get back to our usual parking lot pimping, where I'm just gonna take you guys on a spin around the lot here to just see what the inventory looks like, a number of customers that are buzzing around, etc. So the final note I wanted to make is that there's a very high likelihood, because of short squeeze, because of the good news happening to Tesla, because of the 360 price point, that we could all of a sudden see the stock dramatically move upwards because of it. Now, clearly, there's some market risk right now because oil prices are falling. There are a lot of oil companies that have a declining price, and that's affecting the general market. But it's interesting to note that Tesla's market share is not declining, even though a market's price is actually steady to rising, even in a down market, because of how all the news items we've talked about are affecting things. So this is my plan right now, is that what I'm going to do is ask you guys, if you have any questions, feel free to fire them. I'll try to respond. What I'm going to do to close out the show today is I'm actually going to fire up the car and use my selfie stick to give us a chance to sort of scope the parking lot to see what's going on, and you guys can take a peek. The one other thing I was thinking about doing, and you guys can help me out with this, is the question is, how many cars are sitting here on the lot, and what are preferred colors for customers? Are you seeing a lot of performance edition versus, like the whole truck here on my left? I don't actually see any performance editions, as in I'm glancing for the red calipers. I'm also noting that the special wheel coverings that give you about 5 to 10 miles extra range, about half the owners are choosing to order their vehicle in that fashion. So I just wanted to scope out the second truck that pulled in and see what we can see. So notice the number of owners that are choosing the special wheel coverings. I think that if I'm trying to see the red calipers, I can't tell which of those are the performance models, simply because the coverings actually cover the calipers, so you can't tell when you have a performance model in front of you. But I do think that every ounce of range is a good idea, because it can help out, especially if you're in a cold climate. And right now, I'm actually going to pull up in front of the facility, stick my selfie stick out, give you guys a look at the parking lot here, and then we can close out the show. Just a reminder, hey Norman, Thaddeus, Jerry, thank you all for your comments today. Like I said, get in on Tesla stock now, man, because things are about to get kind of crazy, I believe, on the stock price. So let's start the process of the selfie stick, and I won't say anything. I think I'll just give you guys a view of what's going on here. So I want you to note the red calipers on, so the red car with the red calipers there, that's the performance model. So we're seeing a lot of Audis that are trade-ins, etc. Cool, man. Okie dokie. So, anyway, a reminder here. This wasn't my fault. It was too noisy. It was nice and quiet, and those trucks pulled in. So I did a better job on noise. I just want to remind those of you who are going to send me flaming emails about that. So my final note is just a reminder on our health process. Make sure you don't eat within 2 hours of going to bed, preferably 4 hours. We want you to be healthy and happy and not get acid indigestion and potentially cancer. The second item is I'm about to do my 20 leg lifts with the 5-pound weight. Strengthen the leg muscles so that the knees will be nice and healthy. Half-hour walk if you can, and omega-3 would be a good idea. We actually have an aggressive schedule of shows coming up. The next show we're going to be looking at is part of Tesla's strategy was to buy a trucking company because they want to be able to ship more vehicles. You know, this reminds me of kind of an issue that I've discussed with you guys a little bit, but I want you to really think about it. The New York Times put an article in about delivery hell for Tesla. Now, I wanted to bring this up today for one simple reason, and that is that I think for those in the United States, very good point. Sparks is horrible for housing right now. And Tesla does need to build more housing because there's just a shortage there. In general, the city has been overwhelmed with growth of Tesla. So there's one last issue that I wanted to cover, which is the delivery hell process right now by customers is exacerbated by Tesla's ERP system and in the software side. So what I wanted to point out to you is if you're in the western half of the United States, and half of my viewers are in California, please, please, please do not have your car shipped to you. Go pick it up at the factory. And if you're on the eastern half of the United States and you don't mind a little road trip action, go pick up your car or have it shipped by another company after you've picked it up at the factory. And the reason is that once that car gets out of the factory, they've been listing accidents, they've been listing cars being sold to somebody else away from somebody waiting for their car for several months. I'm seeing all kinds of reports on delivery hell. So highly recommended that you not rely on Tesla to ship the car across country. Go pick it up at the factory and cut your headache factor dramatically, and just take a nice long drive in the south, or drop me an email and I'll go pick it up in California and drop it off at your house on the East Coast, because I like driving, I like Teslas, and myself and other people would be happy to do that. Wie geht's, Sigmar? Wie geht's, mein Herr? So just a word to the wise to think about. And by the way, when you European folks start getting your cars, I know you're saying, oh no, I'm not picking up my car at the factory because then I have to ship it home. And once you find out how bad things are for the delivery side of the house versus the production side, you might think twice about ordering your car and having it show up months later because they sold it to somebody else or other challenges. At any rate, I wanted to thank you all for joining us. We've run a little bit longer than usual. I hope you found some value in this in terms of colors, what's going on at the Tesla facilities behind us. We're about to have a real thermonuclear on the stock price. So if you're in my options class, I'd highly recommend you read the first 2 books and send me a note that you've read them so that we can get on to other lessons that you need to have. We are going to be doing probably 2 shows a day for the next week, and the back end of each show will cover options. I really couldn't dive into stock trading and options heavily with that banging noise from the engines of those trucks in my ears, so we look forward to our next show to dive more deeply in to the investment side as well as the production side of vehicles for Tesla. One last note is it's kind of weird how the number one trade-in vehicle I'm seeing here for Teslas is actually um, made by VW, and it so happens that the VW dealer is right next door. So as you just saw, um, when Model Y comes out, yeah, Sparks would be a good place for them to make it. But the problem with making cars in Reno, Nevada, or trucks or anything else is that the population base of Nevada and the housing base is low. So it's a lot simpler for Tesla to build everything over in the Sacramento area because land is cheap. It's close to the rest of the Tesla employees and management. But yeah, I mean, if they had the housing and the manpower, having everything set up next to the Gigafactory is just efficient. Good idea. Very good idea. Hey, again, thank you for joining us. I apologize for the noise. I'm doing better on the noise. You got to give me points on that. Thanks for joining us once again. Reminder, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Oh, great idea. Great idea, James. Thanks for that thought. I have to admit, I haven't used a selfie stick in a very long time. We usually stay with a fixed situation, but this gave me some flexibility to move from just being around the cars to moving around the lot, etc., etc. Thank you for the comment, Laura. We really appreciate the support, and you could have flamed me for noisy, but it was quiet before those trucks showed up, but it did give us a chance to see what was going on in the facilities in terms of new vehicles arriving. Have a great day. In French, we say au revoir. In German, we say tschüss, mach's gut. Hebrew, lahithrot. Farsi, choda hafez. Zdravstvuyte. Ni hao ma. In farvel in Dutch. And in Jamaica, we say enough respect, walk good man. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to your comments. Please remember to like and subscribe, and thanks again.